Jay here for Stretford Paddock, and this is a special video looking at how Bruno Fernandes has excelled in the number 6 role, looking in particular at the game against Everton. Joining me is Joe Smith, who's going to talk us through it. Joe, Bruno in the 6 against Everton over the weekend was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was. He actually was.
Yeah.
And we'll have a little tactical look. We're going to go through some screenshots. We're going to go through the game in detail and look at what about that performance was so good, why it suited his play style, and maybe whether we can see not necessarily a permanently new role, but certainly an option for Bruno in that deeper role, and kind of what we need in that role if it isn't Bruno, or, you know, whatever goes on, we need someone to play like he played against Everton, but it's great that he can do it. Let's start with a few stats then. This is the game against Everton. Passes there, 88 out of 102 attempted, and that's obviously completed. Attacking third passes, the most of anyone on the pitch. By the way, passes was, I think, 25 more than the next highest on the pitch. So, you know, completely controlling the game. Chances created 6. That's from that deeper role, as we said before. Obviously, he gets up the pitch a little bit, but, you know, he's starting, and we'll get to it in a second, but much deeper than usual, and he's still creating this many chances. And ball recovery is another one as well. Winning the ball back, 8 was the highest of anyone on the pitch, and he got 7. So, you know, he's very much up there in terms of those numbers for winning the ball back. It was one of those performances where you go, that makes sense. Because we saw against Newcastle, it was the same midfield 3. It was Sabitzer, McTominay and Bruno, but we saw Bruno in the 10, Sabitzer and McTominay deep, and no one could really sort of take the game by the scruff of the neck the way Bruno did against Everton. And it was just a phenomenal performance, wasn't it?
It was, and it's great because I was absolutely buzzing off it when I was at Old Trafford. I come out of the ground, I'd look on my phone, and I love Bruno, and it was great to see him getting praised off everyone on social media. I know you say it doesn't matter, but he does get a bit of stick sometimes, Bruno, and it quite annoys me, but he was fantastic, like we said, against Everton. Now, you want to talk about his build-up play, because you're particularly impressed with that. Talk us through that.
I think that's a big thing that we've lacked, not just with Casemiro going out, but obviously he I think has impressed everyone with his passing. But obviously Eriksen as well. The last 3 months, we've lacked someone basically doing this. So as you can see there, centre of the screen, Bruno Fernandes, basically, and there's McTominay just for reference as well. So, what is it, 20 yards deeper there? You know, kind of creating this triangle between the centre-backs and himself there. He's the man who they can pass to. Obviously, Malacia is looking forward at this point. But this position here is not alien to Bruno Fernandes, but certainly not where he's played most of his games at United. He's usually where McTominay is, or actually, probably, you can't see it, but in a circle around here somewhere, trying to pick up the ball in the half space. Instead, he's been tasked with receiving the ball off the defence and playing out from there. And obviously, you know, this is just highlighting the position as we move forward. You see this spot here, which is even deeper. You know, Bruno Fernandes on the pitch there, basically playing as a right centre-back, coming right next to Martinez, able to pick up the ball. And the crucial thing here is, and I don't want this to be an excuse to dig out Scott McTominay, and we'll get to some stats later on about McTominay's passing from similar positions, but he's available. So many times when Fred and McTominay have played, you stood there going, make yourself available. Like, you look here, I think that's Sabitzer there, and McTominay, you can't see again, he's off screen, but he's in this sort of area, just off here. That's Wan-Bissaka there. I think that's Maguire pushed out there. But the crucial thing here is, if Martinez wants to play to Wan-Bissaka, you've got a man there. If he wants to play to Sabitzer, you've got a man there. If he wants to play to Wan-Bissaka, you've got 2 men here who are covered in lines here. Let's get rid of some of those. But Bruno Fernandes is completely free. And the thing with him is he can play passes from here. He can put it out to Malacia on this side. He can switch it out to Anthony on the other side. We'll get to that later on. But if nothing else, he now becomes available all the time, which is such an underrated thing. We think, well, yeah, of course, you drop deep, you can get the ball. But there's 2 things. Firstly, not all players think to drop deep and come and get the ball. They want the ball as high up the pitch as possible at all times. So they're stood between the lines, you know, standing up here in the final third thinking, give me the ball. And even the ones that do drop back don't all have the passing range to then be effective from those positions, and that's the crucial thing.
It looks like he's, you know, I know he's sort of mid-running now, but he's giving a little signal there as well, because there was a lot of that from Bruno. He was sort of pointing to players, look, come here, and, you know,
perfect example. Here you go, look, Bruno Fernandes, almost as if he'd scripted it, Jay. Bruno Fernandes, right in the centre of the screen there, pointing Malacia to go down the line here. So he knows that not only where Malacia should be, but that in the case that does happen, he will then step in and basically take Malassia's position for him. So now this is Bruno Fernandes here. Malassia's gone up the line, done the run that Bruno instructed him to do as captain, as a player that can see the game better than most people in terms of ball playing and build-up play. Now you've got Bruno Fernandes dropping in deep, covering for Malassia there as well. So it's all part of Ten Hag's philosophy. We did a video on this when he signed for United, Ten Hag, that his structures are very disciplined, are very detailed and specific. But the movement within those structures is quite freeform. So as long as you've got a player in the right position, or you've got these triangles that he likes to work, Martinez can go up, Bruno can drop in, Malassia can drop to the centre mid position. I think we've got a picture of that at some point later on as well. But he's now, not just is he telling Malassia what to do, he's also filling in. He's got that sort of mental awareness to say to Malassia, you go, I'll cover you. Which again, it seems simple, but so often, you go down the line, and Bruno would then be here somewhere, and midfielder's here, leaving all of this space for the Everton players. He's not done that. He's got a bit of sort of nous and a bit of smartness about him, where he can see what's going on and actually make sure we've got that structure at all times.
You said something there. You said as captain, and I know what you mean, because he's usually is captain, but Maguire was on the pitch as captain, but that doesn't alter Bruno. He's still that guy.
Yeah.
Whether he's wearing the armband or not, he's going to be giving instructions. We saw it when he made his debut against Wolves. He was telling, do you remember Jesse Lingard made that run for me? And plays like, he's always had that in him. And we saw the best of it on Saturday. And he obviously excelled in the role, as you pointed out, and also filling in those spaces as well.
Yeah, and obviously this is just some sort of positional stuff, basic stuff. Laurie Whitwell tweeted after the game, in this match, United had 3 chances from balls of over 50 metres. So passes of 50 metres or more, United made 3 chances. And that is in no small part to Bruno Fernandes. Look at this pass here. Obviously Bruno there in case you can't see. The ball comes over, comes into Marcus Rashford, who's running in behind. And we see there, he gets a one-on-one with Pickford. Pickford does very well, closes it down, blocks the shot. But if you go back here, go back to this previous image. But if you just look at that as a basic setup, that's not a dangerous place for Everton to be. That's not a particularly attacking position that United are in there. However, one good pass of the ball later, you throw on goal.
We got 2 centre-backs there that were goal-side markers.
Exactly.
And he's got through.
And this is the thing, it suits our players, especially Rashford, who's so good on the last man. But, no offence to McTominay or Fred, but if you give McTominay or Fred the ball in that position there is an almost 0% chance that we will have a one-on-one, one pass later.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And that's not their game.
No, the obvious one would have been to play out to Malassia.
Maybe try the tricky switch out here to Anthony, or, play it safe and go to one of your fullbacks, or your centre-backs, sorry. But that's the thing with having someone this good at passing deep, you have that potential where now Everton have to keep an eye on Marcus Rashford, which again could in turn create space for Anthony, for Sancho, for Malassia, because they're thinking, I can't push up, because if I do, they're going to be over the top and they're going to be scoring. So it just adds an extra element of danger to United's game, again, leading to this chance, which unfortunately didn't go in. But United look dangerous from more positions than they normally do. And like Laurie Whitwell sort of illustrated, I think David De Gea had one over the top as well.
Yeah.
But again, we've got this danger to us that we wouldn't normally have if it's not someone who can pass like Bruno Fernandes does.
He just seems to sort of breed confidence throughout the team when you've got a player like that and he's picking out them passes. The strikers are on the toes, wingers are getting involved. Like you said, De Gea, whose distribution has been criticised, he's joining in on the acts. It just seemed to be a catalyst for a lot of what was good for Manchester United.
So I think we see here again, he's obviously much further up the pitch, Bruno there, but again he's behind Malassia, behind the other fullback. He's playing very deep there, even though he's in the sort of the opposition half. But the other crucial thing is you've got Scott McTominay there. You've got Sabitzer there. Like, he's by far the deepest midfielder. Yeah. He is playing as the deepest holding midfielder here. And the passing range, again, we know he's got it. But I think sometimes as well, when he's playing deeper, not just does he have to make less, or does he make less mistakes because he's got a bit more space, he's not quite, being tackled as often, but he can't make the mistakes. He knows in his head that erratic, I'll take the chance Bruno Fernandes has to be dialed down a little bit. He can still take those chances, play it over to Rashford. But if he messes up, they're through on goal and they're going to score. So you see a slightly more, what would be the word? Sensible Bruno Fernandes, I think is probably the right word for it. He's a bit more sensible. So instead of playing the risky pass every time, he plays the safer pass, which means we keep possession more, which means we keep control more, which means we can build up, we can get into the opposition half, and he can play passes like this, which obviously he's so good at. And the ball goes out there to the right side. I think he does end up getting that. It looks like he doesn't, but Wan-Bissaka gets on the end of that. And again, I don't want to make this a comparison between, Bruno's great, everyone else is crap. But just some of the numbers on this again. If we just go back to this first image here, I think it's worth pointing out again. So we look at the stats here. Bruno Fernandes, 88 passes completed, 102 attempted. Now, if we compare that to Scott McTominay, on average, in per 90 minutes, Scott McTominay attempts 39 passes per game, which is just over a third of what he attempted there. He completes, on average, 32 passes per game, which is, again, just over a third of what we've seen there, under half.
Well, he's doing that in the attacking third.
Well, exactly, yeah.
He's completing that.
That is a massive, massive difference. When you think about controlling games, your deepest line, when he is McTominay, when he plays deep, your deepest line player is averaging 30 passes a game. That is not good enough. You look at Rodri, you look at Fabinho, you look at different players at Chelsea over the years, but Jorginho is the obvious one that you jump to. They're averaging 80, 90, 100 passes a game. Our deep line player, who, when Casemiro and Eriksen aren't playing, is averaging 30. And I think Fred's numbers are similar. No wonder we can't control a game. You play him there in that kind of Paul Scholes later in his career role, where it's literally that, quarterback, as everyone says. It offers so much more in terms of control. There's a reason why I think we had 21 shots in the first half against Everton, and Everton had 6, and only 1 on target. It's because we're actually keeping the ball. It makes a big difference. If we just sort of go back forward again, then looking here again, you see Bruno Fernandes, similar kind of position, moving into that half space there, playing the ball again out on that right hand side. He follows the pass over. You can see him here. He's played it out onto that side, and he's followed the pass out to Anthony there. Here he is coming there. And what we do a lot is, you'll see Anthony obviously cut back on his left foot, plays that ball over, and then Bruno hits one to the back post. You see Casemiro do it a lot.
Yeah.
When the ball comes back and he'll just clip it to the back post, and you've got Rashford running in, you've got Weghorst or Martial running in. Obviously here it's Sabitzer as well. But he's still getting in that final third. He's still offering his services in the final area. But when it comes to the build-up play, he's the one who's sitting deep and playing out. I just think it was such a good performance. Again, look, you see that ball going into the back post, and they're such dangerous types of passes. Those, like, these are the balls that Alexander-Arnold has been doing at Liverpool for years. That you see, Robertson on the other side doing. You see Bayern Munich used to do it a lot as well, like from the half space into the back post. That's why you see fullbacks and wingers who aren't very good in the air. Mane used to get 10 headers a season for Liverpool because once you got the overlap, once you got extra players in this sort of area here, you end up getting tap-ins, free headers at the back post. That pass has been so dangerous in the last sort of 6 or 7 years in European football, and we're just starting to bring it into our game. But obviously, that's the thing. Bruno Fernandes, he made, 6 or 7 chances in that game? 6 chances it was. It's just exceptional. Just brilliant. And here's the other one, defensively. So now we've lost the ball. Here he is, still getting back and doing the right thing. All the way back there, making slide tackles. That is what you like to see.
Well, this is what did. You remember
it?
Everton at home last season?
Yeah.
That did for us.
Yeah.
Remember Fred got out muscled, they countered, they scored an equaliser, one of the nails in Ollie's coffin.
Yeah.
But when you've got someone who can trap, and he's been doing this all season, to be fair, Bruno.
Yeah.
Remember the Liverpool game, in the 90th minute, he ran 70 yards to make a tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, his engine is phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And it's weird that it's taken us this long to sort of do this. And maybe this doesn't work in those sort of really difficult, horrible away games where you just need more fight, more muscle, bigger bodies. But this shows that, I think it's, is it Gray that is tackling that?
I think it was a danger as well,
Yeah.
Damari Gray.
But he's not a big lad, is he?
No.
So maybe in certain games, if it's against Isaac or you're playing against a, obviously he's not playing now, but like a Drogba-style player, you might need someone a bit bigger in there. Maybe McTominay works for that. But I just think that energy into the final minute, that passion and the aggression that you see from him will help us out in these sorts of games. Like, he's not someone that is just, give me the ball, I'll pass it around. And then when it comes to the defensive stuff, he's scared. He's going for it. And I don't know if this is Bruno's best position, and maybe we lose a little bit of that kind of final third productivity from him. But it just goes to show that, first of all, Ten Hag sees the game slightly differently to most of us, because when he played the same midfield that he played against Newcastle, I thought we fucked it.
Because we and you were talking on the preview, weren't it?
Awful.
I know it was a bit, sorry, not me and you on the preview, but I mean, on the preview, I'd gone for it. And when we had Matt Dempsey who's an Evertonian, he was sort of questioning it. And I thought with Ten Hag, you might give it another go.
Yeah.
Because it hadn't worked out against Newcastle. You might say, well, listen, let's try it again.
Yeah.
At home to Everton.
But the fact that he completely reworked it, instead of it being Sabitzer and McTominay deep, he puts Bruno deep. It's the same players, but it's such a radically different way of playing. And we see such a more controlled, kind of expansive way to play and more dangerous from different parts of the pitch, that even if it's not Bruno, someone has to be doing that. And now Eriksen's coming back, we'll hopefully get a bit more of that again from him, and we can use Bruno in different areas. But I love the fact that Ten Hag saw that and saw that even with the same personnel, we can have massively different tactics. And B, if we need him there, Bruno Fernandes can play there. Or let's say maybe next season, if Bruno's not in the goals, his goal scoring form isn't there, maybe drop him back a bit. Maybe if we've got a Kane or an Osimhen or, an Evan Ferguson, whatever it may be, we don't need Bruno getting 20 goals a season. Maybe you can play a little bit deeper next to Casemiro if, Eriksen's, what will it be, 31, 32 next season. We've got options and we've got, different ways of playing. And we've got a player there and a style that just shows exactly how United can control games a little bit more going forward. And I just think brilliant from Ten Hag, brilliant from Bruno, and just really exciting, really.
It is really exciting. Yeah. One thing I always associate with Bruno is he always takes responsibility for things, doesn't he? Yeah. But he's always available. He plays all the games. He always wants the ball. And this is a role where that sort of, plays to his attributes, doesn't it? Having that responsibility, getting on the ball loads and making things happen. Really enjoy that, Joe. Thanks a lot for that. Where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93, Instagram and Twitter, and Sloppy Joe's podcast as well.
Yeah, very good. Make sure you're checking them out. If you're not doing it as well, make sure you are subscribing to the channel and hitting that like button and give us a share. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been a look at Bruno Fernandes in the 6. Thanks for watching.